Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump turning their focus, you might say their ire, toward each other after they each picked up 7 wins on Super Tuesday, putting them ahead of their rivals and perhaps putting them one step closer to a general election showdown.
Joining us to discuss, Michael Eric Dyson, public radio host and author of The Black Presidency, Barack Obama and the Politics of Race in America. Also joining us is former DNC superdelegate Ed Espinoza, the executive director of Progress Texas, and former presidential campaign field director for Bill Richardson. Gentlemen, it's great to see you. Ed, first to you. Got to ask you about some of the exits that we saw, especially on the Democratic side. Take a look just at your state in terms of exit polling in Texas. Hillary Clinton won everything when you look at the demographics. She won amongst whites. She won amongst African Americans. She won amongst Latinos. Is there any hope, when you see just this example, is there any hope for Bernie Sanders going forward if he can't make inroads here?
Yeah, and Clinton also did well amongst young people, which I think is an important thing to bring up because so many people talk about that being Bernie's strength. Look, Bernie has put together a strong campaign, but let's face it, Clinton is going to be the nominee. It might not be right away, but it's going to happen sometime, probably in the month of March. She has nearly 50% of the delegates she needs to claim the nomination. Bernie has less than a third of that, so he's got a way to go. However, Bernie can stay in the race because, unlike Republicans, Democrats have a proportional delegate allocation system all the way until the end of the race. So if he stays until June, he certainly has the money to stay until June, he can keep taking his message of income inequality to the people. And he can, so long as he gets somewhere between 15 and 20% in these elections, he'll get delegates that he can take to the convention and have supporters in the room to continue carrying that message. So Clinton's going to be the nominee. She's winning by wide margins. She has a lot of support. Progressives will come back to her. And I think that's the way the story is going to go.
You know, Michael, I think it's safe to say that the subject of race will come up not just in the primary, but in the general election as well. And Tavis Smiley just wrote an op-ed in USA Today that says something pretty interesting. He said Black America could get on the Trump train. And if you read this, there's a whole lot inside here, but among other things, he says that he's talked to a lot of African Americans who say they're not as outraged over the Trump KKK controversy and David Duke controversy over the weekend as you might think. Do you buy that? Do you buy that the Trump train may include a lot of African Americans?
Well, Tavis Smiley is my dear friend, so he's always a smart guy. You take seriously what he says. And in that article, he talks about, though he's abhorred by many of the things that Trump does, that some African Americans are not. There's always going to be a small percentage of people who don't find that offensive, who find the charisma of Trump an ongoing appeal and attraction to them. But broadly speaking, I think most black people are safely and squarely in the camp of Hillary Clinton and those, of course, who express support for Senator Sanders. But I think Secretary Clinton, as our guest indicated, has a lock on that. She continues to be inspiring to many of those members of African American and other interest groups and communities because of her willingness to speak directly to their issues. Donald Trump has indicated that he will, be great for Black America because Barack Obama has been horrible and he's going to bring them jobs. But the public policy recommendations that Hillary Clinton puts forth, as well as the fact that she is willing to distance herself from any indication of racial animus, the likes of which we haven't seen for a while in this country, resurging under a black presidency, and Donald Trump has had trouble even disavowing the KKK. So I think in the long run, most African-American people are going to understand what the Democrats in general and what Hillary Clinton in particular offer to them.
Look ahead to the general real quick. I don't want to get your take. It's fascinating. One of the big fascinating stories out of last night is turnout, where there were increases and where there were a drop. Just take Texas, where you were a field director as an example. Democratic turnout dropped significantly down from 2008. And for the Republicans, up in a very big way, 74%. How big of a problem is that?
I don't think it's a huge problem. I mean, one of the reasons you saw turnout dip is because 2008 was a transformative year with a super contested election that actually came down to Texas. I don't think people expected it to be as competitive here. The polls showed that Clinton was up anywhere between 25 and 30 points heading into Election Day. People still wanted to go and show their support for Clinton, but they knew that she was going to run away with this. Now, heading into the general election, will that turnout be different in swing states? I think so. If people are going to be motivated for Clinton, that's one thing. But they may also be motivated against a Donald Trump or a Ted Cruz or whoever they end up with, I think the motivation to participate in this election is going to be very high.
All right. Michael Eric Dyson, Edward Espinoza, thanks so much for being with us. Appreciate it, guys.
Thanks, guys, so much.
Thanks.
And thank you all so much for joining us at this hour.
Legal View with Ashley Banfield starts now.